In southern Gaza, amid the flattened neighborhoods of Khan Yunis, a group of young men gathers in the open field. Their uniforms are plain, their boots covered in dust, and their expressions marked by resolve. They are volunteers, ordinary Palestinians training to become the next line of Gaza's civil defense. The war has left deep scars across the Strip, not only on its infrastructure, but on its emergency services. The civil defense, once a modest but vital force, has been stretched to its limits. Many of its members were killed in the bombardments, others injured or missing. Entire fire brigades and rescue teams were wiped out while rushing into collapsing buildings. The losses have created an immense gap, one that these volunteers are now trying to fill. The training ground is basic. It's not a formal academy, but rather a reclaimed patch of land near what used to be a residential block. Sandbags line the area, and remnants of destroyed vehicles are being used for drills. The trainees learn how to navigate debris, carry wounded civilians, and use hoses under pressure. Their equipment is scarce, often repaired multiple times. Yet the determination is unmistakable. Asaad al-Saqa, a training officer within the civil defense, oversees the recruits. His voice carries authority, but also compassion. "We are a team of distinguished volunteers who joined us in the civil defense due to the severe shortage of crews following the attacks we suffered," he explains. "We have lost many martyrs and wounded." Behind his words lies a painful reality. The civil defense was one of the hardest hit institutions during the conflict. Many of its stations were directly targeted. Fire trucks and ambulances were destroyed. Communications equipment was lost. Even after the ceasefire, the teams continued to work in dangerous conditions, retrieving bodies from beneath the rubble weeks after the bombings ended. Asaad walks between the lines of volunteers, adjusting helmets, correcting grip techniques, urging focus. He says their goal isn't just to train more rescuers, it's to rebuild a sense of duty and resilience among Gazans themselves. "We train them in firefighting, first aid and rescue," he continues. "We have developed an intensive work program that will prepare them to work with us in the Palestinian civil defense." This new generation of volunteers represents both desperation and defiance. They come from all walks of life: former students, drivers, tailors and construction workers. Each one carries a story. Some lost relatives in the strikes, others saw their neighborhoods obliterated. For them, this training is more than a civic duty. It's an act of survival and honor. Among them is Ahmed Tabash, a young man in his 20s who joined after losing friends in the recent conflict. He says he could not stand by and watch others suffer without help. "We volunteered with civil defense due to the shortage of limbs due to the war," he says simply. "So we joined Civil Defense, a humanitarian organization that aims to help our people." His words, though brief, capture the essence of Gaza's struggle. A people rebuilding their defenses, not for war, but for life. During the exercises, volunteers simulate real rescue missions. Some practice pulling victims from crushed vehicles, others learn to operate under collapsing roofs. They rehearse first aid, coordinate triage areas, and practice moving quickly between debris-strewn zones. Without proper breathing equipment, they often improvise, wrapping scarves or torn fabric around their faces to avoid inhaling dust and ash. Al-Saqa says the need is urgent. The civil defense is facing what he calls the hardest phase in its history. "We are short of heavy equipment, limbs, vehicles and equipment," he explains. "We call on the international community and human rights organizations to support civil defense and send vehicles and heavy equipment to extract the martyrs from the rubble." His appeal underscores a dire reality. Much of Gaza's civil defense fleet has been rendered inoperable. Bulldozers and cranes essential for clearing collapsed structures are out of fuel or beyond repair. Communications with some regional centres remain cut. In many neighbourhoods, rescue teams still rely on hand tools and physical strength to reach victims buried deep under destroyed homes. What makes the scene more striking is the spirit among the volunteers. Despite exhaustion and trauma, they work tirelessly. They cheer one another on, applaud small victories, and treat each training session as if it were a real emergency. In the distance, the remains of apartment buildings loom like silent witnesses, reminders of the stakes involved. The recruits' motivation is deeply personal. Many speak of seeing their neighbours trapped under debris with no help nearby. They recount stories of rescuers digging with bare hands, of nights lit only by flashlights as people shouted names into the ruins. Those memories drive them to act, to ensure that next time Gaza will have trained responders ready to move. Since the ceasefire, the civil defence has become a focal point of Gaza's recovery. While reconstruction of roads and homes has barely begun, the revival of emergency services has taken priority. International aid agencies have pledged support, but the flow of resources remains inconsistent. Most of the current efforts rely on local ingenuity, repairing old fire trucks, welding broken stretchers, and reusing water tanks as makeshift firefighting units. The civil defence leadership believes that investing in people, even with minimal tools, will keep the system alive until full assistance arrives. Al-Saqa says the morale of his team is unbreakable. Every volunteer here knows the risks, he explains off camera, but they also know that without us, more people die waiting. Over time, the training program has evolved into something larger, a symbol of collective will. Women have started participating in auxiliary roles, including logistics and first aid coordination. Teenagers help with organising supplies, while older residents donate food and water to the trainees. The field has become a microcosm of post-war Gaza's resilience, organised chaos, united by purpose. Beyond the drills, there's also a psychological element. Trainers know that many of the volunteers are coping with trauma, the loss of family members, homes, and livelihoods. Physical training becomes a form of therapy, channeling pain into discipline. As one instructor puts it, here, every movement is about reclaiming control over fear, over destruction, over helplessness. The volunteers often start their mornings before sunrise, cleaning the training area, checking gear and reviewing safety procedures. They break only briefly, sharing water bottles and simple meals before returning to the field. When the whistle blows, they sprint across dusty ground, leap over obstacles, and simulate carrying stretchers through smoke. There is no applause at the end, no music, just determination and the sound of heavy breathing. Despite the lack of resources, the civil defence insists on maintaining professionalism. Trainers emphasise teamwork, communication and responsibility. Every mistake is reviewed, every rescue drill is timed. These lessons may one day save lives in real operations where every second counts. In a place where destruction has been near total, even small acts of rebuilding carry immense weight. The sight of these young men training, shouting commands, lifting stretchers and learning to operate hoses, it sends a message far beyond Gaza's borders that this community refuses to surrender to despair. Observers say the volunteers' initiative also challenges the world's perception of Gaza, often portrayed only through war and devastation. Here, amid the ruins, is a story of agency, not victimhood. It's about ordinary people choosing to stand up, learn and serve. In the coming months, the civil defence hopes to integrate hundreds of new volunteers into its operational network. Their deployment will likely focus on areas hardest hit by the war: Khan Yunis, Rafah, and northern Gaza. Each will undergo specialised training in emergency response, debris clearance, and evacuation. But Al-Saqa is clear: training alone isn't enough. Without international support, without proper tools and vehicles, Gaza's rescuers will continue to risk their lives without protection. Still, he believes the human spirit can carry them far. We are a people who have learned to survive with what we have, he says, but we dream of a time when saving lives won't depend on luck. As the sun sets over the Khan Yunis field, the volunteers line up one last time. Their uniforms are smudged, their hands scraped, but their faces are lit with quiet pride. They salute their instructors and exchange brief smiles, tired but hopeful. The day's training is done, but their mission has only begun. In Gaza, resilience is no longer just a word. It's a daily act of resistance built from the ground up by people like Asaad al-Saqa, Ahmed Tabash and hundreds of others. With every lesson learned, every skill mastered, they are rebuilding not just a civil defence force, but the backbone of a society determined to rise again.